Hello on the Rockers. Who's the boss? We're the boss. As we welcome child actor who is back in the biz, Danny Pintuaro from Cujo, Who's the Boss, and more, with guest co-host screenwriter Stan Zimmerman from Golden Girls, Gilmore Girls, and Roseanne, and me, your sassy host with the sassy most. Raise a glass, let the drinks begin. It's on the rocks.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose on the bleh. On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? We've already been pouring and sipping. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On the Rocks on Air and on Facebook On the Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I'll show up. I'll host. Info at OnTheRocksRadioShow.com. Send us your comments, your guest requests, and guest questions. The show's presented by Straw Hat Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 350 episodes for free at OnTheRocksRadioShow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, on the Outlet.tv app. You can Facebook watch us if you're still on Facebook, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast. Hello, East Coast. We proudly tape at UBN Go Studios, your one-stop place for podcasting. All right, let's get the show on the road. Returning to On the Rocks, making history in our Hall of Fame with the most visits, Stan Zimmerman. And you have to say his name like that, or he'll sue you. Stan Zimmerman is a screenwriter, producer, director who's written on shows like Golden Girls, Gilmore Girls, Roseanne, and the Brady Bunch movies, the TV version of Annie, and the list goes on and on. He's a playwright whose works are being produced around the nation, including his play Right Before I Go that has had A-listers from Hollywood all taking part. He's also the creator and director of an all-Latinx version of The Diary of Anne Frank that continues to be performed to much controversy. He has appeared on just about every major media platform with his take on entertainment hot topics, and he is hot off his press tour for his debut memoir, The Girls from Golden to Gilmore. And this last holiday season, his film, Ladies of the 80s, A Diva Christmas, premiered on Lifetime with a bevy of your favorite ladies from the 80s. He's no stranger to On the Rocks. Please welcome my friend, Stan Zimmerman.
I'm exhausted. Wait, what dialect is that? You better watch it. Okay.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to a bris? I love that you throw that in there.
I would faint at a bris.
Not the one at the white party. I mean, like a real bris. Have you ever been there?
No.
Wait, what does that mean?
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
like,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't
Number
believe
one,
in
who would invite me to a bris? I hate children, so
Okay, there you
there's
go.
that.
Yes.
But like, who wants to go see a bris?
That's how I feel about it. You should do it in a hospital if you're going to do
and
it.
have the after party. You can hang the skin up like a piñata.
All right, stop. Okay.
Oh, God.
Danny's going to leave if you talk like this.
Ah, please.
Yeah.
He's having a good time.
Okay.
We had a good time with him in Palm Springs.
We did.
We just need to get
yes.
more
You-
wine,
you-
apparently.
You introduced me to him.
I
and
did.
It
I was
changed my life.
I was
yes.
like, look, who's that? And we're like right next to him.
I was like, push me over there.
Yeah, I did.
And then here we
I
are.
did.
Yes.
But real fast, I want to know, we know you got into writing Golden Girls. It premiered in 1985. Who's the Boss premiered in 1984. But what were you watching on TV yourself during the 80s?
Who's the boss?
Okay. No,
No,
really.
but I was taught as a young writer to watch everything at least once. If you want to write for TV, know it's on TV. And I still do that when I tell young writers when I teach them. Just watch. Know what is the landscape. So, of course, I watched it. But I also was a huge fan of Judith Light from the soap. So I was very excited to see her. And I have worked with Tony Danza, which we can talk about later. He was a guest star on my show, Rita Rocks, which was a Lifetime sitcom.
I think he contributed to my...
Really?
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
because I was like,
Wasn't there a shower scene where?
Yes, there was.
The famous shower.
in the very opening of the show,
Okay,
in the credits.
yeah.
I remember it like yesterday because we
Oh,
watched it
yeah.
and watched it and watched
Yes.
it. And you know what I would get mad at? They
What?
would do replays during the day, and I was home from school summer.
Mm-hmm.
It got preempted for the OJ trial, and I got so mad because I'd go at 11 to noon. They would play Who's the Boss. Because at the beginning, Tony Danza would go, like that.
Is that what he did?
In the shower.
Just like
that was my
that.
Tony
Okay.
Danza impression.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
That's
spot
what
on.
it is. You do a lot of dialects and
There you
impersonations.
go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
But watching TV was so different at the time because it wasn't like now you could press pause and all of that. Like you had to be in front of your television to watch whatever show you wanted to watch.
Yes, and if you didn't like it, you had to get up and turn. Well, we started event. We had the clicker.
I just throw a
yes.
shoe.
That'll change it?
Yeah.
No.
I'm not going to do cardio.
No, but it was appointment television. That's why with Golden Girls, when it became so popular, and then literally in West Hollywood, they would shut down the street, and each bar was playing Golden Girls, and the parties would stop, and people would listen, and I would. It was kind of numbing to think that that's what was happening in the world, and they're laughing at stuff that I had written earlier that week.
What was the culture of TV in the 80s? What did audience want most from their TV programming? What did networks want to put out the most?
I think kind of that Aaron Spelling kind of you had to look a certain way, be a certain type, mostly white and young and beautiful and cute and great bodies, and it was the Battle of the Network Stars, which I'm curious if Danny's ever did that one. So that's why when Golden Girls came out, nobody thought it would be a hit because it's older people. Like, who would want to watch that? And they were talking about sex and older people having sex. And so you thought you had to look like that type to not only write for that, but actually be an actor for that. So it's so wonderful to see things opening up. Obviously, there needs to be, more diversity and on screen and behind it. But it was just a different time. And that's, what we didn't see ourselves being portrayed. So I didn't think I could actually be a writer back then because there were very few gay storylines. And, every time they came on, we just kind of clung to them. And usually they were victims or they had to die at the end of them. So, one of the early ones right before we got our jobs was Love, Sydney. It was never mentioned that Tony Randall was playing a gay man, but there was a picture of a boyfriend or something. And so that was one of the first, I think it was the third spec script we wrote to get in the business.
Do you remember when the guy who played Mike Brady, I forget what his name is. What's his name? You
Robert Reed. Robert Reed. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. You wrote the Broadway. Or
the Broadway. We wrote the movies. Yeah. So when we were writing the movies, we had actually written scenes where Gary Cole playing Mike Brady was caught coming out of a gay bar in Hollywood.
That is hilarious.
And it was just going to be like an in-joke for people, and it never quite got in, but we were always talking in the crazy areas like that. I think would have been really hysterical.
Oh my God, 100%.
And Carol had been, some joke of like, oh, Mike's going into the Rooster. I guess he's bringing home, some meat or something.
Chicken for Sam.
Jokes like that,
some meat for Sam. That's why Sam never committed to Alice because
he was
swapping meat with the Brady.
At the Rooster Fish, probably. Yeah.
But Who's the Boss was very different as well because deal with like a single mom, a sexy grandma, and then unconventional household. Is that when you think?
I just saw something where they wanted Katherine Hellman to do a crossover with Blanche.
Can you imagine them on vacation together?
How funny would that have been? Yes.
Or if she would have, how Debbie Reynolds guest starred on Golden Girls to be the one that was going to move in, that would have been perfect. Although Debbie Reynolds.
Katherine Hellman, come on. I mean, in Brazil, she.
Yes.
And Danny got to work with her. It was such a great cast and such good actors all the way around and it was just fun to watch, and it was smart and interesting, and it was a little different.
And I think it started to question, what does an American family look like? What does a household look like? You had a single mom who was working so hard at her job to raise, this household.
And then there was the guy who was kind of the beefcake. It wasn't the pretty girl. So that kind of flipped it, which made it really interesting.
Because he was like the dumb kind of sports guy, how he was first presented, but then we realized.
So much more.
So much more. that was my
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, my God, he's going to sue me. Okay, all right, well, let's talk all about it. It's time for our guest of the hour, Danny Pintuaro. First hit the big screen over 4 decades ago in the disturbing film Cujo. Cujo. I'm being all fancy today.
He was on a soap opera before that.
I know. Jeez, whose name's on the marquee? And even at a very young age, having just come off of a run of a soap opera, was holding his own opposite the consummate actor Dee Wallace and a rabid dog. Right after that, he would enjoy a prominent career as a child actor in the very popular sitcom Who's the Boss with Tony Danza, Alyssa Milano, Judith Light, and Katherine Hellman. He would go on to lead a mainstream life, but be thrown back into the media for a somewhat forced coming out and an important appearance on Oprah. He's now back in Hollywood and hitting the industry back as a full-fledged adult. Last month, he graced the cover of GED magazine for an in-depth chat. Please welcome Danny Pintuaro.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that's what I sound like. Oh, it's hello.
So I want to talk. We're going to get into your whole childhood and how you first got into the business, but I just have to ask, how weird is it to be constantly related to a role you did 4 decades ago when you're an adult? How does that play with your mind?
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. It doesn't play with mine in any way, shape, or form. It plays with everyone else's, and it's every time I do a live, there are so many. The number one thing, especially because lately I've been doing shirtless lives in a pool in my backyard.
Oh, we know.
Same.
Oh, I'm sure.
Same.
And the number of people who are like, "Oh my gosh, what? If only Angela knew." Like, you guys, I'm 48.
That is
funny.
funny.
Really? Like, they have no concept of me as an adult, and it's part of the reason it's proving to be harder to get back into the business. It's never not going to be a thing until I knock everyone's socks off with something new.
I mean, to be fair, you still have those features in such a prevalent way.
do.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
like, oh, yeah, of course.
Does it feel like a different person?
Part of it is that I have the worst memory, and so my childhood is all a blur to me in general, and so I don't even connect sometimes, it feels like. I don't start to really have like a connection to my younger self until I'm in my like early 20s. That's when I truly felt like I was really connected. And maybe it was partly, coming out and figuring all of that out. Maybe that's the first time I ever felt really sort of, what's the word, like, present and aware.
Well, because you were very, very busy. It wasn't like, oh, a child actor did a few commercials and then did something and then did something else. You went from soap opera to movie to a long-running series. We're talking about 196 episodes, by the way. 8 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, and we literally saw you grow up. But
And you did how many a year? It was like 24, 20?
At least 24, yeah.
They don't do that these
don't-
days.
it's
It's
like
gone.
8,
Completely
12
doesn't
episodes.
exist. And you have to, the one thing a lot of people don't know is that I was going to school full time at the same time for all.
Not at the studio?
for
You were
6
actually going to a real school?
I was going to a real school. That was one of the best things, and the only reason I got into Stanford. There's no way I would have ever gotten into Stanford if I hadn't done that.
But your parents kind of put the foot down and
Yeah.
said, I think you were like third year in or something, and they insisted that school be a part of his life.
Yeah, so I went to a private school in the Valley, and at 5th period I would leave and drive all the way to Hollywood, and they would just skip my stuff. Not like there was a lot to skip. I mean, and then I would, rehearse with them and then go home and just do piles of homework because I was in all AP classes, so it was just nonstop. Life was nonstop.
Stan, fun fact, guess where they filmed?
Sunset Gower.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And how do the kids at school treat you?
It was interesting. When I first got to school, they were obsessed. Everybody was following me around and wanting to be my friend.
Huge.
Yeah, and it was a big deal. But I got it into my head at some point that I wanted to be a normal kid. And it was like, I was adamant about it. So I got there and I just wanted to be normal. I didn't have that celebrity vibe. Oh, as I knock things over already. I mean, I'm barely drinking. I'm already knocking things.
Have,
Honey,
have another sip.
I've knocked people over. I've knocked people up. It's fine.
Anyway, so like I just went in and I was just like, hey, I'm Dan, nice to meet you. Let's hang out. And after like 2 weeks of me not being celebrity, they literally all stopped talking to me. And I think part of it too was they also got the vibe, everybody else had the vibe. So of course they're going to have the vibe. So I spent the rest of that year just walking around during recess, like looking like I had somewhere to go, and no one wanted to hang out with me. It was awful. And in fact, that's actually where a lot of my we've all got stuff we have to process. That's sort of where mine started, really, was that moment at school.
Well, it's funny, growing up is so awkward for us as kids, but you were growing up on screen.
Yeah.
Like when I say we literally saw you grow up, we literally did. I remember, you and I are pretty much the same age, and so I was growing up with you.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of go back to the past, how you even got into the business at such an early age. Your mom is somewhat kind of responsible by chance.
Yeah, sort
For
of
being a
by chance.
hairdresser.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
tell the story.
She's entirely
because
responsible
I
for sure.
love it.
So yeah, somebody just wanted to hear this, and I told them to come to this because I figured that we would tell the story. So there we
Because
are.
it's so fun. It's so cute.
It's it's back in the day. It's New York. We're less than an hour from Manhattan, and it's like you're in LA. If you live in the Valley, oh, you're so close. You should get your kids into modeling. So my mom had pictures of me on her mirror at her salon. And every client would be like, he's so cute, you should send in his pictures. So finally, just to literally shut them up, she sent a Polaroid picture, maybe 2, to one talent agency. And they called her 3 days later with a job. Not even to like have a meeting, like a job for a Sears catalog. Oh. And then, I had this thing where I would audition and I'd get the job. Like I don't even remember auditioning for something I didn't
And did
get.
you want to be an actor?
I loved it. I mean, they treat you really well as a kid, especially at that age. And if I did a good job that day, I'd get a nice toy or something fun. We've got money coming in, so I don't ever feel like.
But did she prep you for rejection in case you didn't get it?
Yeah, of course. And that was.
You never had to deal with it, though.
I guess.
I mean,
that's
not
nice.
a lot, but no, we did. We had all kinds of things. She was amazing when it came to that. Like every day in the car, the conversation was, "Are you sure you still want to do this?" Which was so great of her. I mean, because it was an hour and a half drive in 5 a.m. in the dark. I would lay in the back of our Trans Am. Do you remember the Trans Am? They had like a area in the back with the window, and I would sleep there, and I would look up at the stars on our way to New York. And every day she'd say, "Do you still want to do it?" And then after every audition, she would say, "All right, now what do we say?" And I would say, "If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't." And that is literally how I got Cujo. Literally. The producer.
By lying down in the back of a car. Yeah.
Well,
Well, you
no,
you
I
did
mean,
use
true.
that.
I did actually.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
I just
yeah.
watched it for the first time.
Oh, you
so-
did?
You've never seen Cujo?
No, you made me watch it before
Oh, my
today.
God. Okay, so
you
everybody.
forget Tatum O'Neal. You had an Oscar-winning performance.
Okay,
That was
here's
amazing.
the thing. So Dee Wallace has done the show a few times, and there was Oscar buzz for her as well, because
There really
people
should have been,
people
yeah.
say, "Oh, it's a Stephen King film about a dog." No, it's about so much more.
Adultery.
But that scene, everything.
What was that about?
But this scene that you both have in the car in the heat with this dog. I can't imagine at you being such a young age, it being such a traumatic role, and you just come off like a traumatic situation off another world as well. How does that play with your mind as a kid? But you kind of understood early on that this is business and it's not real trauma.
Yeah. I don't, I'm still processing some of the sort of how all of that came to be. And the conclusion I've come to is that I was being sort of guided by the universe in a way. And that, we would do the screaming scenes, and it looked like and the whole everybody on the crew would think, "Oh gosh, is he going to be fine?" And every take, Dee would say, "Oh, you're all right. Okay, it's they're not real," and I would literally be like, "No, I'm good. Are they going to move the camera? What's next?" Like, how does a 6-year-old do that?
But to go to tears, like what?
And to
Where were you bringing that from?
I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. I literally don't know. I feel like it was just what I was supposed to do with that portion of my life. And I'll call it talent, sure, for sure. But you can't teach a 2-year-old to cry on a soap opera and learn lines and have it be believable, and especially a soap opera.
But even in terms of more than that, it's the mental health. It's leaving that behind. That day
Yeah.
on set,
Yeah.
I think Dee said you guys were filming that for 13 hours or
It was awful.
something. And then how does a kid able to just leave that and go play with your toys?
I don't know. I literally don't have
And
the
then when
answer.
she's like doing the mouth to mouth on you, I was like, what does that do to a child?
That's Dee's favorite story to tell.
What did she say?
This is such a consummate professional. They had given me ideas of how to do the convulsing, and it didn't look right. And my mom pulled me aside and said, "Now, when you were in the hospital as a baby, you had some convulsions, and this is what you did." And so we went and did another take, and I was, doing what I did in the movie, and everybody stopped and they were like, "Wow, where did you come up with?" "Oh, my mom said I did that when I was a baby." And Dee was like,
Still work.
Method acting.
I mean,
yeah.
And Dee was like, "Oh, I'm not going to have a problem with this kid at all. Like, he's going to be totally fine through this."
Watch Cujo if you haven't seen it. It's such a great film. There was such awesome, but we know horror films are not treated the
Daniel
same.
Hugh Kelly without a shirt on. I mean, that's you could stop right there. But why didn't the closet door shut? What was with that? Do you remember that?
Oh, it's stuck.
4 years old, girl.
It was It was stuck.
just-
You have to read the book to find out the
Yes.
full
There's a connection
story.
to that.
There is actually.
So I was like,
yeah.
why is that happening? And then they never
Read
brought
the
it
book.
back.
I've read
Yeah.
and I read and own every Stephen King book ever written.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I have another assignment?
Yeah.
I'll blow your mind with this. There's actually a storyline in the book that they took out of the film because I'm glad they did, because I think it would have taken it to a different place. But the dog is actually the embodiment of a serial killer from a previous book of his. The serial killer is like in the dog, basically. So a
We
lot
need to
of the
remake
book
this movie.
is from the point of view of the dog, right? Where he's
There's
talking moments of that.
Yeah, there's moments. But we know Stephen King is such an expansive writer. Nobody can ever fit it all into a film, even a series.
Why don't we do a
just doesn't.
remake with you as a gay dad with a kid?
Okay, sure.
Come
I'm
on.
happy to. But Dee and I have both
With shirt
said-
off. You'd have to have your shirt off.
Oh, God.
So you'd have to
A
unbutton
gay
more
dad
buttons.
with a shirt
yeah.
off.
What's that saying?
Simmer down.
No, what's that saying? In a blue moon. What?
What is
Oh.
What's that saying?
Oh gosh.
Once in a-
blue moon.
Oh, that's
okay.
the saying. I totally forgot. Yeah.
Sound effect.
Are we explaining what's
No.
happening? Okay, we're just doing it.
He's gonna unbutton every time we.
Oh, now you explained it.
Whoops.
You mansplained it.
But I want to
what
talk
I
about, we've had other child actors on before, and the assumption is it's like, do you remember when you did this? Did you remember when you did this? Especially when you meet fans at conventions and things like that. How much do you actually remember about the early days, or do you even remember your audition for Who's the Boss?
None of the above.
Wow.
Like literally none of the above. Partly because I have such a bad memory. And we have decided the reason I have a bad memory, and I've actually asked a couple other child actors about it, and we all have the same thing, which is because we were training our brains at an early age when it was still developing to memorize short-term things and let it go.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Our long-term memory never formed correctly. So I literally have just like hazy memories. I have a few actual memories, but they're mostly like a memory of the photo from that day or like a created memory of the story.
Plus, what was going on, not just filming, like Who's the Boss, but you were being touted all around. You guys were doing after-school PSAs. You were doing the award shows. You were like, they put you all on a wagon. They put you all together, and they're like, okay, do this. You must have been meeting people left and right without even knowing exactly who or being known exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you. Like, people will say, did you ever meet so-and-so? I'm like, probably, but I have no concept.
Like, you're on the Love Boat set. How amazing. But you're probably
no,
just
I do
one
not
of the
remember
things
meeting
you got
him,
booked
yeah.
with.
Who were the guest stars on that episode?
On
Love
the Love
Boat,
Boat,
yeah.
it was all the ABC stars,
it
like
was
from
like
every
the-
show. It was one of those, annual ABC put out. They don't do those anymore. Those were so fun. They were so
They
great,
probably cost
too.
too much.
Yeah, for
And for
sure.
scheduling and all that. So I want to talk about the scheduling of a sitcom, and you can offer insight in this because
You can speak at this part.
Oh, now I can talk. Okay.
That's kind of what it was.
no, because
I know, I
you
know.
lived the life
Yes.
on set, and so did you. It's very different than filming a film, and you went right from Cujo because people saw you in Cujo, and they're like, "Oh, you're perfect for Who's the Boss," and so you went right into that kind of atmosphere as this little kid. What was like the weekly schedule for you?
Ours was so specific, and by the end of the 8th season, it was like I felt it was almost very military, because we were all so good at it that we didn't need to take more time, and especially on Fridays. Fridays are supposed to be the longest day. That's when you film both. We filmed the show twice.
Did you do 2 audience shows?
We had 2 audience
Yeah,
shows
we
on
did that
Friday.
too,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But Tony had this thing where he was 100% convinced that if we kept the audience there any longer than necessary, they're just not going to laugh with as much gusto as they do the first time they heard it, maybe the second time.
So what's the
After
point?
that,
Right.
so what's the point? Why do it again? And if we cannot get our, can we say bad words on here?
Yeah.
You can.
You
it's
can
only
say.
it's only $10 per time, and
Oh, or
What
is
do you
it,
wanna say?
is it a button every time?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you gonna say?
Just
But he would
everybody
say?
get your shit together
Oh, yeah.
and make this
Oh,
happen.
my ears are burning.
And to the point where, no joke, it was a running thing with the audience where they would see who could get ready faster, Catherine or Judith, because they both had big, huge costume changes.
And
And
big
whatever.
hair. Yeah.
And it was the kind of thing where they would literally finish the take and then both
Run.
would run to their, and then Tony would stand in front of the audience and play like do and like literally.
Well, now
time
he's
it.
doing one-man shows all over the place too.
yeah.
When he guessed on our show, he was just like, just shoot it. He
Yeah.
was like, he didn't understand why the network would come in and talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And want to rewrite lines. He goes, why can't we just shoot it? Just shoot it. Like, stop talking about it.
That was
and
his
that's
big
what
thing.
I remember. Yeah.
And
Wait, so
it
that's your
always made the
impression?
good stuff.
What? That's my
That's your-
impression
That's
of
your
Tony
Tony
Danza.
impression?
Yeah. He played the husband's boss. He was really good and really sweet, but
Oh.
he did not want to spend time like doing take and talking.
Because
and
it's a
changing.
I
whole
get
different
it, though.
culture.
Yeah.
It was a whole different culture, and you know that. But it must have been interesting from your point of view because you had 4 divas with established careers.
But they weren't divas then. They were like,
Well,
I'm gonna.
I mean,
they were
I
gonna,
use that
They
in-
were
in
gonna
how
say
we-
they were reading every line exactly as written.
100%.
Now
Yeah.
on your show, did you read lines or were you ad libbing or? what
I was,
what was
reading
the,
lines for sure. Alyssa was reading lines mostly. Tony and Judith would do a little bit. Tony especially, of course.
even in the beginning?
Yeah.
did it just get more
even in the
comfortable?
beginning? Yeah, he came into it sort of ready to have it be his thing, his baby, and it was always sort of Tony's, gig, and we loved that because it kept us fresh, it kept us going,
Now, you growing up on set with these people, I mean, you probably saw them more than you saw your own family. You saw them more than you saw your own friends. How well did you grow up with them? because you and Alyssa were kind of in different age groups.
A little bit, yeah.
And so, like, even siblings don't really mesh that well. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're going through different. Your hair was so perfect. Do you know how jealous I was of your hair? And every time I would go get my hair cut, and I have Latino, like, super curly hair.
Yeah.
You can't tell, but. Like, I was
The
so jealous
wave.
of your hair. And so every time I'd go in and I'd be like,
I kind of invented it,
I want the
honestly.
Jonathan haircut.
You're the one?
I called
Yeah,
it the
yeah.
wave, yeah.
And no offense, do you know that this became the haircut for gay men, especially in the early 90s?
Oh, gosh.
It really did.
Now you're
Oh, I
just
tried
really,
that, yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just going around and you're putting all of the circles together, and I kind of love it, actually.
It's a conspiracy theory. So you wanted to make everybody gay before, right?
You had an agenda.
yeah, I don't.
And it kind of worked, didn't it? Yeah.
I don't think I had much of a, not a 10, not even at 15.
But you know what's so funny? Like, the way you looked and the way I looked as a kid were so different. Our experiences, you were a child actor and I was not. But I did feel a connection to your look. Your connection with Catherine was palpable.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I had a really close connection with my grandma and, of course, my mom and you and Judith. And you guys still talk. And she's been a big, well, we know she's been a huge supporter of the LGBTQ community.
And for me, too.
Yeah, 100%.
But right before I got my suicide note
Yeah.
plays, she was very helpful with that. And
Yeah. So, but what was it like growing up with these people? How did it go? And especially when you started to feel like maybe you weren't like the other boys.
Oh, no, that didn't happen until long after the show,
You
honestly.
had no inkling.
I did, but no one else would have thought it. Other than the Essence, yes, other potential gay men or other people who felt the same way, for sure. Maybe people were like, well, he's, he's a creative type. But I don't think anyone was putting like that closely two and two together, and we were certainly not talking about it.
And you had a kiss on the show too.
Yeah, and I had multiple girlfriends, but honestly, maybe that's why I never had great storylines, because they really didn't know what to do with me. Because was it believable that Jonathan would have? But it was also because we set him up to be just such a loser, and by the end of the show, he was just doing. I mean, I was there to put my hand in a mustard jar. Like, that was literally all I did in one episode.
They really did make him like the pratfall and was like,
Yeah,
okay, now back
yeah,
to the
because they just
story.
couldn't figure out what else to do with me. And now, in hindsight, I realize it's because everybody knew something I really hadn't processed yet. Yeah, the Essence was there.
And did you have ideas for storylines that you would want to bring up? Or
I
you
had
felt-
some. I had some, but you have to remember, I was also working so hard at school that I
didn't have
wasn't.
time to-
I
you were
wasn't
just
spending a
showing
lot
up
of
to-
time. If I had just been there every day, like doing set tutoring, I would have been like, guys, please, seriously.
Was that an option?
To do set tutoring,
Yes.
not for my parents. No, it was go to school because
Like they insisted in his contract.
because we knew, they knew, not we, they knew
What smart
would happen
parents.
when the show ended, and it's the same story for every child actor. It's not different. So
Do you think that set you apart a little bit, bonding with the cast? Like, let's say Alyssa, because you were in that delicate
absolutely,
time
yeah,
period.
for sure.
She's like,
yeah.
oh, he's going to show up when he shows up. And
Yeah, a little bit of that, but I don't. Not in a sort of. It wasn't. Nobody minded at all, and it would be that I'd come in and they'd be like, "What happened today?" Oh, I got an A on my French exam. And they were so happy for me.
do you ever regret getting into acting so early and having that be your early childhood is consumed by the show?
Yeah, no. No, I wouldn't change any of that. I would change some of the choices I made after the show and
We're
after
going to talk
Stanford.
all about that, girl. Yeah,
Those are where those are where I have some moments of regret. But no, the childhood, like I said, I feel like it was literally it's why I'm here, or at least that first part of my life. I wouldn't change it. No.
Now we know, like, looking back, you might not have all these memories that we as fans envision. Like, I remember my first day in my trailer and, all this
Yeah.
stuff. But I want to know, working with two greats like Judith Light and Catherine, is there anything that you remember from that experience that you take away that you use in your acting that you learned early on as a kid?
Oh, for sure. I definitely think that Judith is where I got the most sort of acting vibe and learned and watched from. Catherine was wonderful and consummate, but she was always just there, just to do her thing and hang out and relax. There wasn't sort of at least to me, Catherine didn't have that, okay, so we're going to do scene 3 and move, she was always just, okay, let's go, let's do it. But Judith, of course, was, and you could always see the wheels were always turning for Judith in her brain, and watching that process was fascinating. But I feel like where I learned the most, honestly, was from Tony, because it was this constant let's stop talking about it and let's just do it
our
and
job.
experience it and learn it and try it. And if it doesn't work, he would always say to Asad Kalata, the director, like, let me just do it. If it doesn't work, we'll change it. But there's just something about that where it just felt very free. Like, let's just all play and see what happens. And I loved that. There's so many hands in the pot. What's the phrase? There's so many cooks in the kitchen.
No, the phrase is a blue
Once in a bloom.
moon.
Oh, once in a blue moon.
Yeah, whoops.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
It's-
And,
I'm too sober for this.
yeah, have another drink. And
Oh
did
my
you like the
God.
studio audience? Was that a fun part of the puzzle?
I did. I loved it. And
It
Tony,
wasn't scary as a kid at all to have all of the laughter and clap.
No, not at all. Because Tony made it so fun. He was out there more than the comedian guy that they'd have to warm up the audience. I mean, if he wasn't on set, he was talking to the audience.
So this might be an interesting foil because we know in Golden Girls, B. Arthur and Betty White did not get along the best because B. Arthur was upset that Betty was talking to the audience so much and kind of being her vaudeville self,
Oh,
and like
interesting.
keeping the audience. And I wonder because Judith is such, she's an actor.
Was that the
but-
first comedy she did? Because she came off of being a serious.
I don't know her
soap
career
opera
well
actress.
enough to know. I don't know, honestly. That's a good
'cause
question.
I remember
Yeah.
like she's on a sitcom. I just had known her from
How
Crying.
in the world?
Yeah,
Yeah.
One Life to Live. Like, how would she be
Yeah.
funny? But she really is funny.
But isn't that interesting? Because maybe like Tony just being like this on set, she was like, "Can we act?" And that was the
Yeah.
the reticence
No,
between being
I didn't get that from her at all because Judith's always, she's, how do I explain it? She puts on the face of whatever's happening in the moment. And in the moment when Tony's being silly and fun, she's being silly and fun because that's what's going on. And it's a skill. It's a people skill to sort of be able to just become what the room is looking for.
Let's talk about Judith Light a little bit because I remember, and this is me being a slightly different age group than like you knew that she was a serious actor. I remember when she first started doing serious stuff, quote unquote serious stuff.
So that was new
People
to you.
were
Yeah.
people were like, "Wait, she's that sitcom.
Yeah.
What is she doing
No.
this?"
Isn't that
You knew her,
bonkers?
yeah.
And she
Yeah.
did theater for a long while, I think smartly so,
Yes.
Yeah.
to really build that up. But how do you think she escaped that stereotype of being a sitcom?
Because of the consummate professional, like off set, like away from set at an event. Like if you meet Judith at an event, her energy is very focused and very serious and very, I'm supportive. Let's lean. And so I feel like just because she's everywhere and, seeing, just meeting the right people, they all understood that there was so much more to her. But we've all experienced that. I mean, that's exactly why Alyssa did some of the stuff she did early in her career, right? And then Charmed is, of course, like as far from Who's the Boss as you can get, right?
I love Charm so much.
And that's where I'm at right now. Like, because I had this long break, I'm stuck still in that everybody thinks of me as a sitcom actor. And I'm 48, and now I'm trying to figure it out. So I keep telling people, everybody's coming up with ideas on my TikTok lives of what I should do next. And I always revert to, let's do some serious dramatic stuff.
Well, like
first
Judith did
to
the
get-
play Wit. I don't know if I saw
yep.
that. I saw it. I was front row,
Yep.
and she was stark naked
Yep.
with a woman that had cancer.
It was
so
amazing.
she just bared herself and said, "I'm going to put myself out there in this really dramatic role and show you I can do it."
Yeah, but only certain
So maybe
parts.
you need to do that.
Yes, that's a smart idea.
with
You just
the
want to
blue.
see him nude. I don't understand this.
Oh, how
fascination
I see
with
how
getting
we got
Danny
that.
how we got it.
Oh, I
Did you
see how
see
that
that?
got.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Bare your soul. You
I
should
was-
do Bent.
I was
You ever play
gonna.
Bent?
I agree, but I feel like for Judith, part of it was that's not the big enough of an audience. I think it was SVU when she played the judge for multiple seasons on SVU. That was the first really serious role that the
And I
general
remember
public
it was
saw
so
her do.
jarring to see her that way. But I think she did a little. I think she did a couple of Lifetime movies.
Oh,
that,
sure, of
That were
course,
just
yeah.
like,
But
oh,
for the New
okay.
York audience to take her seriously
Oh,
as a
100%.
dramatic
Sure,
theater
sure.
actress, that changed her trajectory as
Right.
far as what she was cast in on the Broadway stage.
On the Broadway stage,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
but that's not going to get her the stuff she's doing now.
No, but I feel
right?
like
So-
that people looked at her in a different
Yes, of
light.
course.
Yes.
But it was an uphill
Sorry.
struggle. Like I can imagine doing a Lifetime movie was probably not in her wheelhouse, and she's like,
No,
okay.
it was in her wheelhouse.
but to be seen in a different light. But that's not like she wanted to be doing what she's doing now. You know what I mean?
Right.
What was it like when you found out the show was not going to continue a 9th season?
Again, for me, I just went to school for the rest of the day. Nothing changed.
You didn't feel relief. You didn't feel sad. You didn't feel
A little bit sad, but I was entering junior and senior high school, and trying to maintain a 4.8 GPA, and
Did you say 4.8?
yes.
4.12, just so you know.
Oh, look at you. Yeah, no.
No.
Mine. Oh, I heard a no.
No,
What was
wow.
that?
I don't
He
know.
only plays that for me.
Oh, that was you?
So that must have been like, did you go to prom in that whole bit?
Yeah, I did all of that. Yeah.
Who did you take
Yeah.
to prom?
Oh gosh.
Such little
Name
girls.
names.
I can't. Oh no, I'm not
Name
going to
'em.
name names.
Why?
Because
No,
I
you
can't
can-
remember it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
She was
What did you
lovely.
wear?
We were friends. Just a tux. Yeah.
Just a regular old
Just a
tux?
regular
Did you
old
feel that
tux.
pressure to kiss at the end of the night? I felt
No.
such weird pressure.
We went as friends for
Okay.
sure. We already knew that was a thing. But what you don't realize is I had already had a girlfriend for years by the time, and I was single when prom happened. And she ended up going off with some other guy after
Rude.
the prom. But I wasn't expecting that we were gonna.
And did you?
I didn't know.
after a guy?
Nothing.
No,
No.
okay.
No.
We're gonna get to those years.
No. Yeah. Nothing. Not at that time.
We're gonna move on from Who's the Boss because there's a huge chunk of your life that we really need to talk about.
Okay.
You've been an activist for the LGBTQ.
How long do we
community.
have? How long does this go for?
2 days.
4 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's a shiva. We're here for 7 days.
I'm ready.
But before we move on, we have to talk about Alyssa Milano has been very vocal about this reboot that they've been working on for apparently like 3 years.
Yeah.
And so, for those that don't know, the reboot is going to focus on Samantha moving back in with Tony, being a mom, I think, and all of this.
I've heard multiple versions. I think it's the opposite. So Tony's gonna move in with her and her family, is what I heard.
I think that's changing from what the original was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything happening with it at the moment, as far as I know. I was never like full a part of the process. We talked a bunch about it, and I was definitely going to be a part of it. But they really wanted it to be about the Masellis. And I thought that was super cool. I wanted to see what that looked like.
Jonathan can stop by.
Yeah,
have
and Jonathan
fun.
would stop by. Yeah.
He can come out as an out person, take her to a gay club, and she can like rediscover like, how
Fun.
fun is that, right?
Yeah.
But because you and I have chatted before, that's not really on your priority list because you have so much more planned for yourself.
Yeah,
Can you
I mean,
talk a little bit
it
about
comes right back to the Judith Light. Oh, she's a sitcom actress. If I start with Jonathan Bauer after a long hiatus from the business, I'm just Jonathan Bauer again. And I would never say no to being a part of it. I'll never say no. But yeah, I need some Ryan Murphy under my belt. I need some Mike Flanagan. I need a good film. I need some serious, whatever. And then let's make that happen. So yes, it's on my radar, but I'm not as jumping at the what's the phrase? Jumping at the bit? No, chomping at the
chomping at the
chomping.
bit.
No,
bit.
the phrase is the blue.
Jumping
Once
at
in
the
a blue moon.
Yeah.
Jumping in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
I know.
This-
Terrible.
okay.
You started it.
I
so,
did.
yeah.
I did.
You know, it's funny. I just interviewed Marsha Warfield,
yeah.
and
We
she
love
came
her.
back to
Yeah.
Night Court, but she comes back. She's out and proud now.
Yeah.
She just got married at age 69. She's 70 now when she got
Good
married.
for her.
And they wrote her role as that.
Yeah.
Her first return back to Night Court is about her being married. So it's like, if
I
they
love
could
that.
tie that kind of thing into it.
Oh yeah, there's no way I'd play him as anything other
Yeah.
than I want him to be because he was so lame on the show. I want him to be successful. I want him to be powerful. I want him to be happy and married, maybe with kids, whatever.
And
I
it would
just
be
can't.
so funny if he was like the successful one that had his shit together and everybody else was still.
Oh my gosh, I would love
buffoons.
that. I would absolutely love that. I would not mind if he didn't have a history like that. He'd been through some stuff. That would be great.
Yeah.
Add dimension to the character. But what I've always said in terms of doing a reboot, for me, I think it would be so much smarter to do Who's the Boss as a single camera show because you have the caliber of actor to pull it off.
Almost like a Modern Family.
Almost
type?
like Modern Family,
Oh,
almost like
that's
Transparent,
smart.
right? Like Judith's other show. Because number one, how many sitcom reboots actually work? And how many of them are just not as good as the first? I don't want to mess with what we had. And has any other sitcom gone from 3-camera to single that you know of? It'd be a first.
So this is where I want to get your opinion on it because you.
Well, like Will and Grace, they brought back. Frasier, they have brought back.
I mean, take my gay card away. I thought the Will and Grace reboot was not good.
I agree. And the reviews on the Frasier are
yeah, well,
It
like
was
Lou,
so bad. I can say this, you guys can't. It was so bad. I had to pause because I couldn't believe that somebody would greenlight the script. I can't believe that Kelsey would say yes.
Oh,
and I
gosh.
can't believe that they put so much to it. It was so bad.
They have done things like Lou Grant, the character from Mary Tyler Moore, went from a multicam
Oh,
show
sure.
to an hour drama. So they've done little
I
bit,
could
but
see
not
that,
the
yeah.
exact show. I don't think
Wouldn't
it's
that be
ever
so
gone.
cool? I feel
It'd
like
be really
we could
interesting.
totally pull that off. Like we are all capable of doing that, and I think it would be way more successful because I just don't trust I don't trust reboots. Period.
That's what I asked. Do reboots work? You wrote one of the most successful reboot films of a TV show, so it's
yes,
different.
but we made fun of it. So if you can make fun of it, the
Oh,
Brady
yeah.
Bunch movies were obviously having fun with the whole format.
Which I think
of that
fans,
show.
like Brady Bunch fans,
Yes,
are
so
making
if
fun
you
of
can-
themselves.
yes.
Nobody's making fun of Who's the Boss, though.
No,
You know
it's
what I mean?
it's a different
What
show.
was happening on the screen? There was something there, and I didn't read it. Was I
Oh,
supposed to read
no,
it?
it said
was
that Alyssa just a few days ago. That's why it was fresh in my memory. She
Oh.
just said that there's more progress on it.
Oh, cool. I literally didn't know that, so that's great.
And are they using the original writers? Do you know? Like, are they still around?
I don't think it's even there in that process.
Oh, there's no.
I
don't think
I
it's
think
great.
it is a little. I don't know how much I can say about it, but
Okay.
yeah, no,
Okay.
I mean,
Oops. Okay.
so do you?
Write a spec script.
I'm writing a spec script. Are you saying
Do it.
me? Okay. Yes. Who were the original writers?
Oh gosh,
Your
well,
memory. I
what,
know. Here, let's make
He
up
was
names.
6
yeah.
years old. Like, what did he do?
who just passed? He was the big sitcom guy.
Norman Lear.
Norman Lear
Yes.
now owns it, so it was
Okay.
his group that was
I
going to
know
be.
Brent Miller. Yeah.
Exactly.
All
Yes.
right. Yeah. So
yes.
he's doing it.
Oh my God, this is perfect. They're going to bring you back just for a few guest appearances, whatever. And then I'm going to play your husky Latino husband. That's so perfect.
You're gonna have to fight my husband for that job, actually, because
He's a singer. I'm an actor. So
Oh, you're an actress. You're an actress.
actor. Okay.
Actress.
Let's move on from Who's the Boss.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you.
You were still interested in pursuing acting. You studied acting at Stanford.
Well, yeah,
Kind
sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just did.
Well, but it's an interesting story. I'll tell it briefly. I went to Stanford to be a veterinarian, and I failed chemistry.
That was his dream, to be a vet.
Literally, my dream was to be a veterinarian. Yeah, but I could not pass.
Cujo.
I could not pass the chemistry classes or the math classes to save my life. So I actually left. I was so mad that I left and went back to LA. And, I'm just supposed to be an actor. And after like a few weeks, I was like, oh crap, I'm Stanford University. What are you thinking? Just go back. So I went and I was a directing focus in the drama major. So at least I wasn't acting technically.
But it was still in your mindset.
was
What
still
did
in
you
my
wanna
mindset.
Direct? Did you want to direct sitcoms? Did you want to direct theater? Did
theater,
you- Yeah.
exclusively theater. And I moved to New York City right after Stanford to literally do that. And I got there and I met a bunch of people who were all trying to be directors and had been trying for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. And I thought, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? And I guess I just wasn't passionate enough to really follow through as a director in New York. So I ended up being an actor again, so a bunch of theater in the process. But
Talk about the obstacles then, because we're going to talk in a little bit about the obstacles you have now. But talk about the obstacles then. Even going to college with somebody, like if we went to college together, I'm like, oh, I grew up next to him, and
the
like
hair.
we're in class next to each other.
Yeah.
That must have been weird. But also talk about trying to get into acting at that time as well,
Yeah.
and what you had to deal with.
I mean that one of the things I'm forever grateful for is the high school and college, because I got to skip a lot of that really awful time of for years and years after Who's the Boss or any sitcom. A child, you're just going to be that character and no one's going to hire you, and you have to do something really outlandish or amazing for them to see you in any other light. So I just got to skip those years. And then the problem is, though, that by the time I got through skipping all of those years, the next thing that happened was that I was outed by the Inquirer. So I never got to have I'm just an actor trying to get rid of Jonathan Bauer. The next time I tried to be an actor, it was I'm Jonathan Bauer, who's now big old queer,
So let's set the scene, because you never were kind of like in the closet. You had come into your own. You had come to terms with your sexuality.
Yeah.
And you were dating somebody, and
Yeah.
word kind of spread on campus. And didn't it get picked up by like a local radio station? or
Yeah,
something?
and I still don't know how it happened, but yeah, I got a random call during finals, summer finals from a radio station. Just, hey, we just wanted to catch up and see how you are, what's going on in your life. And of course, there was this pointed question of like, who, do you have a girlfriend? And of course, my answer was, not in so many words. I don't even remember what I said. And of course, that somehow got to the Inquirer and immediately turned into, we're going to do a story about you, whether you like it or not. And do you want to talk to us about it?
Now, this is where it becomes a twist, because we know the National Enquirer can be very nasty. But
Can be?
has
and it's
been
in the news.
Has been
and
very
it's in a
nasty.
trial today. Yes.
Yes.
Oh
that's
yes,
big,
yes, it sure
It
is.
wasn't David Pecker and those people were. Was it?
I mean, if it was National Enquirer
was,
and
it
it
had
was
to
those
been, yeah,
people, yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure at that time, yeah.
But in a weird twist, they kind of worked with you on it, even though they kind of blackmailed you into it.
Oh, I mean,
But
that's all
still.
Judith. That's 100% Judith because she said, I called her first thing because I didn't know who else to call. And she said, look, do it. But there's one thing that a journalist is not allowed to do, and that's misquote you. They can move the words around and sort of like try to turn it into something. But if you give them honest, straightforward answers that aren't beating around the bush in any way, they can't mess with that. And so I literally did that. I called them and I just told them all the facts, and it was very point blank. And the article was actually quite good. I reread it last year and I was like, I can't believe that this is the Inquirer. It was almost heartfelt. I think I was young too, so I don't think that they wanted to be quite as ferocious as they could have been. You know, I mean, I was 18, 19. What was I, 19, 20 at the time?
And plus, remember, well, and you know this better than anybody. During the 80s and 90s, there was a whole weird idea about
we
what
were all in
gay...
the closet.
was a
yeah, it
huge
would
thing.
be a career killer. If
Absolutely.
any of us.
Oh, yeah.
In front of the cameras, behind the cameras, everything.
Yeah, and that's partly why I think I did it, because at that moment, being an actor was not on the radar. I think if I were in LA trying to be an actor at that time, there's no way.
And
I
who
would
would
have
come
done it.
out? What, had Amanda Burst come out by then?
I was one of the first, honestly. I wanted, that's funny you say that. I wanted
Wilson
to do
Cruz?
a list. No, he was no. He
Who'd you
was-
say?
Wilson Cruz, because he was
Not yet.
already a
No,
5.
No, that was after.
Yeah.
That was slightly after. I came out before Ellen was outed. Like I was between Rosie and Ellen.
So here's
But nobody remembers
No.
that.
No.
So I was like, I was literally one
Where's
of the.
your GLAAD award? God
Thank
damn it!
you. Great question.
hello,
We are going
GLAAD.
to talk about this. I have this as a topic because it's a very hot topic.
I
and I'm
also
very
read mine, yes.
excited.
Okay.
Yes. But here's what I also think, like the National Choir, like softened it a bit,
Yeah.
and why people responded so positively, because you got a positive response.
Yeah, I
Was
did.
because-
I did.
Mothers who had grown up watching Who's the Boss with their kids who maybe have passed away because they were gay were kind of brought back into this memory and this nostalgia, and they felt safe with it. And it was like, you were this adorable poster kid for the American kid. And you coming out, I think, really helped open conversation.
That was literally what I said to them. I said, I'm doing this because the impression that America at that time had of the LGBT community was the lesbians on motorcycles at the front of the parade. Like, that was what a lot of America thought that meant being gay was.
Or that we were all dying left and right.
Or that we were all dying.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to be this normal kid, normal guy that had nothing
more
attached
normal
to him. Who's
than-
more normal than
who
Jonathan
was on
Bauer?
Glass, yeah.
And the
Exactly.
boy on Cujo.
That
yeah.
was literally the point, and it was the beginning of that moment, and it became a thing. Like, we're just normal people, and now we're at the place where like we get to just play. It's not important to the character in some ways. It's not like we're certainly not. Well, I'd like to see a lot more characters with HIV who are not just dying. Right? I can't.
We
think,
haven't quite gotten there yet.
Sorry, no, we've definitely not gotten there yet, and I think that that's the next thing that we need to see for sure.
100%. And that's what I hear from a lot of gay actors who have HIV. It's like, we need to see just people living their normal life.
Just-
Like you're living your normal life.
Almost to the point where they mention it at some point and it's just not even important,
Yep.
and they're having healthy relationships, healthy all of the above, right? And none of that matters, and they're just there. That's definitely what we need to see next for sure.
So when you tried to be an actor back in Hollywood, what kind of roles were you being given?
I mean, because I was out and, that ends your career. No, none, zero. I mean, the one random assistant character, who's a little fruity.
Still like a Jonathan Bauer, just serving other people
Yes,
fodder.
yes.
Yeah.
And did you have
Yes.
representation through this whole time that was
for some of
behind
it.
you?
Yeah, oh,
That-
yeah, 100%.
So no one dropped you or...
Oh no! Well, there was a big gap. I dropped everybody because I was at Stanford. Like the last thing but I made friends with someone who's my current manager, and we've been working together off and on since then. But they were very much behind me to try to make it happen. But it was very
And
hard.
did anybody tell you not to come out? Or to keep quiet or to say it's not
Well,
true?
again,
We're
I
going to
didn't-
out him either way.
But I didn't have people behind. I didn't have anyone at the time.
No
I was
team,
I was
yeah.
in finals at Stanford.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a team of anything except books in front of me. So no. I mean, I think if I had asked some people, maybe they would have said probably bad idea. But I was also, I'm that guy. Like, I'm the first to talk about a lot of things, in the public.
What'd your parents say when you had to go through that?
They were not super supportive. We had problems when it came to just being gay, but I think the problems really stem from they knew that it would end my career, and they didn't want that for me. So if anything, it was just that they knew what was going to happen, and they were not wrong. They were definitely not wrong.
So you kind of re-entered, quote unquote, mainstream life.
Yes, very much.
You
Yes.
took a number of odd jobs. What was your worst odd job? What was your favorite odd job?
Oh, God. So I've had so many of them. Well, I worked at the Gap when I was in high school, which was also made the Inquirer.
Everybody must have known you.
Yeah, of course. And I did it.
What was that like?
I just wanted a summer job. That's the thing. I wanted to be a normal kid. I had this thing. I had this obsession when I was
more
younger.
normal and all white American than the Gap.
No joke.
Yeah.
And, somebody brought in a hidden camera because, of course, we didn't have cell phones at the time. So somebody had a camera hidden in a purse and took pictures of me folding clothes. And the Inquirer headline was, Danny Pintuaro broke working at the Gap. And no, I really just wanted
it's a
a
bad
job.
thing. Yes.
I hate headlines like that. It's like somebody is making a living.
Right.
Why are
Yeah.
we punishing anybody that's making a living?
Yeah. I mean, but it still happens to me. I can't tell you the number of times when I'm on TikTok and I'm talking, we're just getting by. I have a blow up pool in my backyard.
Oh, I was watching.
You are?
Yeah. I
And
was.
just
maybe a little bit.
Just during that live, somebody said, well, you have a blow up pool? Don't you have a ton of money? Where's your
Let's talk about residuals back then.
Oh my gosh. I mean, people, I don't know what it is, but people think that I should just have millions of dollars. And
We
I
have
don't
this
know.
weird idea of Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah. And we create that. I think partly Hollywood creates that,
Well, and as actors, there's smoke and mirrors too. Like
For
you
sure.
know, you
You
probably
want to appear successful.
100%.
yeah. So I let them in, see the real version.
And are there certain roles that you've seen that you went after?
Well, I'm working on that. Yeah. I mean, like,
That's a fan question we got is, if you were watching TV, where would you cast yourself right now?
100% anything that Mike Flanagan does. I would be on the house, like Mike Flanagan's work.
Are you listening, Mike? This is for you.
If Mike is, I swear, I talk about Mike Flanagan every Tuesday in my live, and I am manifesting that energy. I need to make that happen. The other person everyone always says is Ryan Murphy. I need to work with Ryan Murphy for sure. But Mike Flanagan has this ability to bring out something in an actor, and he always uses similar, he uses a lot of the same cast. Do you know his stuff? Like Haunting of Bly Manor, Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, with Henry Thomas, by the way.
Henry Thomas, exactly.
And that was
Hello.
such a great role for
Another
him.
child
And
actor.
Serious, yeah.
Mike, let's
Who
make this
cried
happen.
a lot.
Who
Yes.
also cried a lot.
And he's such a cute butt.
But if Henry Thomas can do it, I certainly
And
can.
Judith is working with Ryan Murphy. So.
And Judith's working with Ryan
Can't
Murphy.
she hook you up?
Just send it
Yeah,
to
Judith,
come on.
please.
Come on,
Seriously.
Make that connection.
Just a sec. Okay, so worst was the Gap. Was that the worst? Or?
No, I mean, I waited tables at a place in New York called Cafe Un Deux Trois. It was,
yeah.
I think it's still there. It was horrifying. It was like, 400 people came into the restaurant at the same time during the, Broadway lunchtime. And it was,
So you
I
went
had a
into the
meltdown.
Gap and applied?
I did, yeah.
What'd
But
you
that
put
was
as
high
your
school.
resume? Oh,
He was boss. Yeah.
Cafe Un Deux Trois was once I moved to New York and was
what'd you put on your
bleeding
resume?
money.
When I'm like, oh.
I had the Gap.
Who do we call as a reference? Judith.
Yeah, no,
Hell,
literally. No, I think I did actually have her as a reference for a while. Yeah.
I have to say, I think that takes such courage to do, number one. And we have a lot of entertainment people that watch. This is sometimes what you have to do, and there's no shame in it. And for you to be courageous and talk about it, I think is so important.
I had no choice at the time. I had no choice but
isn't
to
it
take whatever
interesting that
job I
you
could get.
think that's courageous when it's just
I know. No, you're right,
what
actually.
people do every day to
You're right.
survive.
And in your book,
Yes.
the girls from
Yeah.
I thought I knew Stan, but there are moments in it where you really felt at the bottom, and you were at the bottom, and you're like, I'm
Collecting
done.
unemployment. Each show you're done. You have to start over again.
Yeah.
They put you in a closet to write.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's just like what you just have to do. And so I think it's so important that we all share these stories because it's not easy for anybody.
No. There was a point where I was I had a full-time job and I was still completely broke, and I became friendly with I was a talent assistant, and I became friendly with one of the managers, and she was so sweet, and she called one day about something, and I was like, oh man, I'm just not sure I'm going to be able to pay my rent this month. And she lent me some money. Like, I was literally at that place in my life. Like, people every Tuesday when I do a live, people are like, where don't you have millions of dollars? I'm like, babe, I haven't had millions of dollars since the 80s. Like, and I barely had, because you have to remember, I was also the least well paid on the show by far. And the money at that time was horrible. And that's the whole point, right? Is how can you write a contract to compensate for DVD collections when DVDs didn't exist? Like, how can you put wording for a contract?
And people don't understand.
People don't understand that there isn't just a sort of, what's the word? A coverall for anything that might exist in the future. Like, no, we got when the first season of Who's the Boss came out, I got a copy of the DVD. That's literally what I got for it.
And did you turn down jobs like Movie of the Weeks during your off time on hiatus?
No, I was working
always,
as much as I could. Yeah, I did.
You did a few things.
I did a 2-part Highway to Heaven.
Oh, that's right. But
Yeah.
you did that before Who's the Boss.
Was that before?
It was.
Oh,
It was
know.
before Who's the Boss.
Okay. I did Jury
Michael
Duty.
Landon.
Jury Duty was definitely on the summer break with it was a good cast. It was Movie of the Week about literally a I played the kid of, oh my gosh, her name's gone right out of my head.
Give us a clue. What is she in?
She was the mom on something else. Oh, are you Googling?
Give us a
Google,
show.
Google.
I'll know. Just give
It
me
was
the
a
show.
great cast. I
Which
can't think of the show. I have a
Who else
thing.
was in
He
it?
has with memory, Stan.
I have a thing. No, it's a literal thing. It's called lethonomia. I looked it up. In a moment of conversation, I lose names and names. Like, I
We
haven't.
should have
That's
we
also
should have a
with
telethon right
pressure.
now. Yes,
We should.
If you
Do
want
know
to
who
give
else
money,
has that? Joanna Lumley from FF.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No, it's a literal thing. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Lethonomia. Do you find it?
Okay, we'll let you work on that.
gotta give
Jury
more-
Duty. It was a Movie of the Week. Just look on my IMDb. It's
Yeah,
under
there.
there.
IMDb. You also came out a second time.
Oh,
And this
yes.
is very important. And to me, this is even more personal and intimate than coming out as gay, because it's like, okay. You came out as HIV positive with Oprah.
Yes.
Tell us how that came about,
Mm.
and also tell us that decision to be like, we're going to turn the script, and you are the one that said, this is what it's going to be about.
Yeah. I had thought about talking about it before they approached me. But at all the other times that I had thought about it, I was going to use it to potentially boost the career. And so I realized that that's just not how I know. But no press is bad press is sort of the assumption. I don't know. That was backwards thinking, but I thought it would bring me back into the limelight. Maybe not career, but back into the limelight. There was
At that
potential.
time.
Yes.
Today, yes.
Yes.
We're so much more aware about HIV. We're aware about AIDS. We're aware about prevention
We're
and treatment.
We're nearly reaching non-issue, but not quite there.
In fact, the CDC just released a report. We are nowhere close.
Well, I meant non-issue as in to your career. To
yes.
affect your,
Yeah.
But we're not quite there.
100%, yeah.
But back at that time, it was definitely still, for sure. And a lot of people bring up the View interview that I did at the time. And, one of the things about that interview was that they had to read a statement because I was saying in the interview that I was undetectable, which meant I could not transmit it to anyone.
But at that point, people were
the
so
CDC hadn't
dumb
even
about
said anything about that yet.
undetectable means
They didn't understand. So they had to read a statement saying that the government hasn't officially outlined that as a possibility. I mean, it was awful. It was awful. But we've come so far. I mean, just with that issue alone, we've come so far.
But
and
how
that was
did
only
people
9
find
years.
out? Did you go to them? Did they?
Yeah.
Yes.
So she had that show Where Are They Now on her network, and they
It was
contacted
a fun
me.
show, and it was like,
It was a silly show, yeah, mostly
silly
just
show.
silly interviews. And yeah, they just contacted me out of the blue to say we wanted to do it. And because I had just talked about it with the manager as like something I wanted to put in the back of our heads of something to do. I'm telling you, I'm the guy who is not afraid to talk about those things. And I knew what it would do, but I had already been talking about it. I would say 4 years before the actual contact from Oprah, I had talked to my publicist about like I said, the only person I would ever talk to about it would be Oprah. And this was 4 years before I had
So
already
you manifested it.
Again.
yeah, manifested it. But yeah, they called and said, we want to do a little Where Are They Now? And I said, I think I've got a potentially
Angle.
more
Can you
interesting
make the
version
producers
of
when
the
that
story.
message came across? They were like, What?
Oh yeah, no, it was the coolest thing because she was like, "Oh, let me call Oprah," and then like half an
get
hour
to
later,
Chicago.
yeah, half an hour later, it was like,
plane
"Yes,
arrived,
we're
yeah.
on board." And I had like, I think I spoke to her producer for over 3 hours, just going over all the details and ins and outs to figure out how to make it happen, how to do it right. Yeah.
That must have been really scary, though.
It was horrifying. I nearly threw up. I was pacing. I was sweating. My husband was there. My publicist was there, and it was oh God, it was so scary. And Oprah came out, and she could tell, and she said, "Okay, take a deep breath. You're gonna be fine." She said, "What do you want to accomplish by doing this?" And I said, "Well, these are sort of the 3 things that I really want to make sure people understand." And she said, "Done." And we did the interview, and she said afterwards, "We totally did that. And we've completely accomplished that. So that's awesome." But I felt so safe with her team because, you know, she comes in at the last minute. She's ready to go. She's got the questions
But her
prepared by
even
her team.
asking that and fulfilling
for
that,
sure.
that's why she's Oprah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's why she's Oprah.
But it's partly because she has these amazing people around her who make it happen, right?
She
And because that
created
producer,
family. That
Yeah.
starts
That's
at the top.
it starts at the top
100%.
for sure. Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So 2022, you make the decision, hey, I'm going to get back into acting. I'm going to attack Hollywood. You had your whole life set up with your husband. You were a vet in Austin,
Yeah, vet
which is an
technician, yeah.
amazing location. And you're like, no, we're coming back to Hollywood.
Yeah.
What inspired that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, in the long run, I have some thoughts, and I'll get to those. But the initial thing that inspired it was actually jealousy.
Of
I
yeah,
love it. I
no,
love it.
100%.
A specific
Honesty here.
person?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Who?
I'll tell you.
I was watching Star Trek Discovery, and Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp were sharing a kiss, and I said, "That should have been me." And I said it in the kindest way possible, and I love them, and they know that that's literally why I'm back in the business. But it just sort of hit me. I think it was a combination of things. It was that I had done all of the processing of my trauma and nonsense to get to a place where I was ready. I had completely figured out what it felt like to be a normal human being. That, again, that's just my childhood goal, was to be a normal kid. So having a normal job, a normal life, I felt, okay, I know what that looks like. And being happy and healthy, and I don't know, that moment, and of course, obviously too, seeing all of the possibilities, I finally feel like it's not going to be the one assistant job every 6 months on a movie that comes through. It's a bunch of great stuff, you know, and it's also not the generic, like, not generic, the stereotypical characters, because I refused to. And even back then, when that was what was coming to me, I said no. The last thing I want to play is that stereotype, because I came out and said I want you to see me as a normal guy. So the last thing I'm going to do is play that like really queer, you know.
And I think that's the problem with the reboot of Will and Grace. It was like, I think we've moved past some of those characters.
Oh, interesting.
But
We don't
couldn't you do
identify
your
with it.
take on that character?
Of course, and that's
Yes,
what I will do.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at it, you know, we love Anthony Rapp. We've had Wilson Cruz on the show a few times. That would have been such a killer way for you to come back.
Oh my gosh, that's and it's gonna happen. It's just gonna be on something else. I know that's coming. And that's the thing, is everybody that I speak to is 100% convinced that it's just right around the corner. Whatever
You love
it is.
to manifest stuff, so
Yeah. so-
No, I'm very much about that. And there's also something that just happened too. This is very oogie boogie. But you're doing a paranormal show, so you know you're in that realm.
we're announcing it.
guess
We're
it's
announcing it now.
announced. Did
I just- oh,
no.
It's like, we're doing a very fun paranormal community is very strong. Queer representation in the paranormal is not so strong. We're putting together an amazing show. I'm the skeptic, so that'll be fun.
I full on
but
just
yes,
did that, didn't I?
it's
I'm
totally
so
fine.
sorry.
No.
No, it's good PR.
Yeah.
Danny Pintuaro just PR'd our show. Write it down, sweetie. Write it down,
Oh
sweetie.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't. I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. So my current astrological stuff, I'm not huge on it, but I've been getting into it recently. I love Sloane Bella. Do you know who that is? She's amazing.
Astrological stuff, I'm like,
I know, but you have to be open-minded if you're going to be the, host of this paranormal show. You can't walk into
I'm the
it.
questioning one.
Yeah, but you
If
went.
it makes sense, I'll be like, well,
There's a difference
You're
between.
the Q in questioning?
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait. So the sun Venus and Jupiter have entered my career sector for the first time in 10 years as of yesterday. But so how I'm wrapping this back around is I almost feel like 3 years ago, the universe said, you need to get ready for this thing that's coming. And we need you to start getting ready for that now. I don't know. Is that weird?
No, they say get ready so that when it appears, you jump
because
right in.
You still have to cut your teeth.
yeah.
And so, like, you've been trying at it. We obviously had COVID, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Because you're not auditioning. When you were the cute little kid, you'd walk in and be like, I'm cute. And like,
Yeah.
oh, we got you. Now you're sending in stuff,
Yeah.
right? And then, so let's talk about this. You brought it up earlier, and I think it's so important. You know, we as the LGBTQ community honor certain celebs that we're told this is who the famous person is. This is who our activist is. Somebody that has done activism for so long before it was quote unquote cool. I don't understand why you don't have a bigger presence at GLAAD, at HRC, at some of these big events.
He's just coming back. He's gonna do it.
He's back though.
Yeah.
And it's not like you haven't reached out to them, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Is this a hot top? Should I not?
it's a, you know,
Thanks a lot, Alexander.
that's a lot. That's a lot. Look,
Then I will say it.
no. I'll hint at it slightly. There seems to be a pattern in my life where when I did the HIV stuff, when that first happened, I had planned to do this full year-long sort of tour of the country. I was hoping that all kinds of things would come my way for talking, engagements and speaking things, and that would just sort of set me up. And the other activists in the community did not accept me the way that I thought they would. And it was really disheartening. I had multiple people write really horrible articles about my coming out about it.
What didn't they like?
I remember explicitly.
You say what it is.
Do you want,
That's fine. I mean, you don't have to name names, but what was the sort of vibe that they were giving off?
doubting like your diagnosis and the whole story behind that.
Oh, and how it came about. Yeah,
And which is so ugly. Like, why are we tearing our own community apart?
Yeah, and I can't, because that's my experience, I can't help but feel like that's the reason. I don't know. I don't know why I haven't been. Yeah, I mean,
this is Regular Pride. We're getting. In fact, this episode kicks off Pride Month.
Yes, it does.
And we have a whole slew, so stay tuned. But this is also the other side of Pride. Mm-hmm. You know, you having to be in the closet as a writer for one of the gayest shows ever, you going through so much activism and still not being part of the community. We have to stop tearing apart our own, and we have to just stop.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think we're making huge strides, but there's always room for improvement.
And your honesty on TikTok, I think that's the first thing I said to you when you introduced me. It was like, I just started watching you, and
you're just like in like a Danny Pintuaro.
So honest and just so open, and that was so refreshing and nice to hear and nice to see you. And I think that those are the doors that are going to open because of how you just are presenting yourself.
But the opposite could potentially be true, and that's what makes me nervous.
But you can't worry about that. You
I
have
know,
to be who you
I know,
are, and
I
people
know.
will take that.
But to wrap it around, the idea that my honesty could prevent me from getting the job is because we still have so much negativity in the entertainment
I think that's
industry.
old thinking.
I hope
I think
so.
it's old
I hope
thinking,
so.
yes.
But I also think
Let's
you
manifest it.
When we chatted before for GED, you put it so well. You're like, some people have boxes. Like if you walk in a room and you're auditioning, you're like box, box, box. Me, box, box, bigger box. And then you said you have like all these boxes.
I have a lot of boxes, and I'm hoping that they don't get in the way. But they're going to get in the way. I mean, it's just a fact. But hopefully we're getting through. Hopefully,
I think
we're
you can
moving
flip
past
the
it.
script, and those boxes are what's going to
I'm hoping.
propel you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
into-
And that kind of is on the same token too, because I get a lot of people. Oh, this is going to take us into a whole other territory.
Do you need to lie down on the couch?
No, it's
It's gonna take me to a blue moon, I think.
Okay.
Oh wow. Oh
In
yes.
that case,
Oh,
yeah.
And
Little
pop
nipple
up.
there.
We haven't even talked about my new chest, my nurples. No,
it's coming.
It's the idea of yes. What I should be focusing on is embracing those qualities about me, because those are what are going to get me the job. I actually completely agree with you, and I spend a lot of time trying to dull them to be able to be more neutral, because that's what we're taught in the business is that, that sort of neutrality, especially if I want to try to play straight roles. And that's a whole other
But
world to walk into.
I'm on your side. I'm like, yes, like 100%.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think embrace you. You're
Yes.
so special and so unique in your story, and that's who's is going to get cast. The more you show that is what people are going to celebrate.
I agree, but do you
Yes.
feel like the industry
Yes.
in general feels
yes,
that way?
I do. I think they
You
will.
do?
I think they're going to be very excited the more open you are. Don't try to be anything. Just be yourself, and that is so unique with all those boxes are beautiful colors.
Okay.
He's
I
in the
love
industry, so
I
he knows
love
better
it.
than me.
Yes.
I'd
Love
be your
it.
agent with like a pastrami sandwich. Don't do it. You need to play like a straight killer on Lifetime next week. That's what I would do.
He could
Because we
do
would
th-
see
he
him
could do
in a
that
different way.
and all those other parts.
I
yes.
think that.
It's a tough. Yeah. It's a. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I never think Neil Patrick Harris is straight ever, no matter what he does, because the media has told us over and over and over how gay he is.
Well, that was a question I was going to ask. Kate Blanchett was saying, why in every interview they always say, like, as a woman,
yeah.
how do you feel about a woman? Like, how do you feel like, because it always leads off with, how do you feel as a gay actor?
She hates those questions too.
Yes.
She's one of the best actors of our
Yes.
I
generation.
just read an article. He was in was that the movie the gay movie this year or last year? He British. All of Us, All About Us, all of.
Yes.
I think you're talking about Andrew Scott.
No. I can't think of his name, but he literally just had a Variety article in which he said, "Why does my being gay have to be a part
It's
of
Andrew
every?"
Scott. He was
Is it
in. He was in.
Oh, Andrew
Fleabag.
Scott. No, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
He
you're
played the
right.
hot priest that we all.
Yes, that
fantasized
guy.
over.
Yes.
And I agree, and I was going to ask you this because National Enquirer was, you come out as gay. Doesn't it help our representation or does it hinder us?
It helps representation, but could hinder me getting the job back then. But now it's different.
But even
now it's different.
It's like that's
Now
why
it's
he's
different.
saying, why does every label have to? He played Ripley.
Yeah. Yeah. I
wasn't
have
gay in
mixed-
Ripley,
I
by
have
the
so
way.
many I have
That's a
so
whole
many
other
thoughts on
episode.
that
Okay.
whole other that
I
conversation.
say embrace it.
Yes, I'm working
and
on it.
that will
I
lead
say
to
no.
more opportunities.
I say do something totally
Don't listen to
something
him.
that we don't even expect because I'd be like, I
Well-
will binge watch that.
But
Play every gay role you can and
I
then
love
expand
this.
it. Come
I
on.
love Play a
but
murder
give
on
you-
Lifetime.
But give your twist to it.
Yeah.
Only one who can do it your way is you.
I
And
love
that's
this.
what makes you so special.
I love this so much because this is my life. Literally, it's a constant battle between the two sides of the coin. And you know, if I were in a place in my career where I was back and people, and I had even a modicum of clout, I would
You
just
do. Watch Cujo. I think you do.
You
And
just
if
watched it.
I know. And
I
so
watched it over and
embrace
over.
it. Embrace that. That is your.
Play
I love it.
Play a husband who kills people in
But
a
are
Lifetime movie.
you gonna believe me as that?
You're the great actor, of course, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's lighten it up.
I love
a
it.
bit.
Okay.
No, this
Here's
is
the
good.
thing. I totally disagree. I say totally play so opposite type.
Well, definitely opposite sitcom for sure. Like dramatic and serious. I would, yes, for sure.
I think you should do a sitcom as well.
I
you
know
have
you would
great
say that.
comedy
I knew you
roots.
would say
Be
that for
funny.
sure.
Just
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
that part of your
Then
life.
write
My
something for
God.
him.
Look, we're I'm in a position right now where I'll take whatever comes my way. So
Exactly.
I do not have a
Yes,
choice
yes.
in the matter. I will audition for it and I'll get it, and who knows what
That's
it'll
what I
be.
wanna
So
say, yeah.
I really don't even have the ability to choose at this point. Like I would ever pass anything up at this moment. I just need to be back out there.
You know who did one of the smartest moves was Pete Davidson from SNL. He was in the height of getting all that ridiculous, and he just wanted to be taken seriously. So he did a quasi-surreal sitcom about himself on
Oh
Peacock.
yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
He also did a lot of like weird
Joe
little indie
Pesci was in it?
movies.
Yeah.
he did
100%,
that, yeah.
but it was all about his own story.
Oh, interesting.
But he totally wanted that SNL thing taken out. He wanted the Kardashian era taken out.
Yeah.
But he made fun of himself, and he acknowledged that. But it was a dramatic show. Edie Falco was in it.
Interesting.
Joe Pesci was in it.
I
Okay.
like the idea. I like where you're going with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's what you should do.
Will you write it for me?
Or
Yes.
you write him a
That's
sitcom,
Okay.
I'll write him a
Okay.
series, and we'll
Okay,
see which
there we
one he
go.
chooses.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to buy a typewriter.
Don't
that's
joke. I
typewriters.
started on a typewriter.
Of course
An
you
IBM
did.
Selectric. Yes.
Wasn't it?
Oh my
I'm
God.
surprised you weren't
Yeah.
chiseling stuff. and
How
stuff.
dare you?
We have to talk about your beautiful marriage.
Okay.
You had this whole life set up in Austin.
Yeah.
House, career, everything. How do you tell your husband, hey, we're going to move to LA and I might not be bringing in money anymore?
Yeah. Gosh, thank God for him, honestly. Thank the universe for him.
But how did you have that conversation?
It was so easy because I've known all along in the back of my mind that that was something that he knew that I would eventually get back to. I knew that he knew that, and it was something that he. There are a lot of people in my life who have, you know, if they're having conversations about me without me, part of the conversation is it's just a matter of time. He just needs to figure it out. But we all know that there is more for him in the entertainment business, and that I knew that from him. And so it was easy. And in fact, it was, oh, finally, okay, let's do it. I mean, it was that easy. And we made the pact that, like, you know, we're going to leave Austin. I tried to do it there, you know, because self-tape is pretty much all that's happening right now anyway. We're getting closer to in-person.
Right. But networking is...
But the networking is why we moved back. We moved back, yeah, for sure. But it was, you know, and he knows me well enough, too, that... I'm not good at calling out. Like, if I have a job and I have to be, like, deathly ill to call out. And, like, last Wednesday, for instance, I had a commercial audition come in. It was, like, 9 a.m. and was due by 5. And I said, if I had had a job, if I were working right now, I would not have called. I 100%. Would literally have stayed there all day and then missed the audition. So we've decided that I'm just going to focus entirely on trying to be an actor for now, and he's going to pay the bills.
But you moved from Austin budget to LA budget.
They're not actually as different as you think.
Well, it depends where
Austin,
you live.
yeah.
Fancy pants.
No, honestly, Austin's just expensive because everyone's moving there.
We do love Austin.
Yeah.
We
I was
love
just
Austin,
there this
yeah.
year, twice.
Oh, so many people have moved from
You need
LA.
to brag.
Twice in Austin, yeah.
You don't need to brag.
It's a cute town.
It's so
really,
cute,
yeah.
but it's not. It's
Not
honestly
cheap, yeah.
not much cheaper.
The culture, the music, the food.
The food. I do miss the food.
Yeah, because LA, I'm sorry, everyone's like, oh, LA has great food. We really don't.
I miss the supermarket. HEB is the most amazing supermarket.
People freak out about
What's
that. That's
that?
all people keep talking about.
What's a
down there.
supermarket?
It's not. It's a lifestyle. It's not even a
It's-
supermarket.
What's a
I can't.
supermarket?
We barely have those here. But
I have
HEB.
not been in a supermarket since I was a little kid. Instacart. We have Instacart.
Oh my God, Instacart. I mean, if you can afford to do Instacart, apparently you can afford to do Instacart.
Diana Ross does her own marketing, so
She does.
that's what
I
she
wanna
said on
see her.
Oprah.
I want to see her at the
Yeah.
supermarket. Actually, I don't know if I
Yeah.
buy that though. Honestly, do
Yeah,
you?
I don't
Do
buy
you
that.
buy that?
If
I
somebody
do
likes
buy
me,
it, yeah,
does
yeah.
Instacart, and will
But
never
it's in a
set
little
foot-
Connecticut town,
Yeah,
so,
so it doesn't
you know
count.
it doesn't count.
They all know
Yeah,
she's coming.
Yes, like
Oh, Diana's coming
pretend
today.
pretend like she's a normal person.
But how does your husband deal now? Because when you guys met, you were kind of like, okay, we're just in normal life now. You know, you're networking, you're going to events, and you're auditioning. It's a whole different culture than he met you in.
Yeah, it's
And obviously your budget is a little strained.
yeah.
So how are you dealing with it?
It's been hard. It's not been hard on us. You know, it's
You guys
been.
have a very, I mean, we hung out with you in Palm Springs.
He's
it
probably
was like,
watching right now. Yeah.
his beautiful voice? Who else can sing
Such an
Christine from
amazing
Phantom
singer.
of the Opera, by the way?
Such an amazing singer. You know, it's changing our dynamic, and we're still learning what that's going to look like. Because, yeah, our relationship was literally just based on two normal people and not one of the, you know, like, it's even changed our dynamic in the sense that now that I have this new body, much more of a thirst trap.
Ozempic?
No,
kidding.
God, no. I'm the
Why
opposite.
did-
I've been so skinny for most of my life. I've actually had
Hate
to
you.
gain the weight.
Yeah. I hate when people say that.
But you know what? There's a weird body shaming about skinny people.
Also,
which
yeah.
I never understood because I'm like, God, I wish I could be skinny. But it's real.
Also a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But so now I'm watching that dynamic happen now because it's, you know, I'll post a shirtless picture and half the comments are, you know, all the various things that whatever. And then watching him sort of read oh, look, somebody said this. It's just interesting to watch that
How do you
happen.
work through that?
You know, it's been fine so far. I feel like, you know, I want him to get back into doing, because he's an actor, singer as well, but he is very good at musical theater. So I want him to get back into like doing community theater so that he can at least sort of, because I do, there's always the worry that he's going to be like not jealous so much, but just wanting to also be working. And if we were in a position,
He's very talented, of course.
so talented. If we were in a position right now financially, I'd love him to be doing commercial auditions because I think he'd be great for commercial stuff. I think he's got the right look and the right face.
Can you sing?
I cannot sing. No. I can barely sing. If I
We had this discussion in Palm Springs.
I
You
would
can talk
like
sing.
to. I would like to try to, but not like him. But and then there's also the moment too where, he wants all of this stuff for me, and he says, "What else can I? How can I help? Who can I call for you?"
This is what I love. I mean, that's kind of unconditional love.
I love it, and but I say no, like because one of the things I want us to maintain is a relationship that isn't, because it wasn't built on that in the first place, and I need him to keep me grounded. I'll need him to sort of, does that make sense? So I just didn't feel like I don't know. I'd rather him just be the husband versus like calling people, and I don't know.
He's so great. I'd be like, whatever he needs, yes.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you can
just do
call
it.
someone, call someone.
You're right.
All right, we're going to finish on
Oh gosh, there's
such a positive note. I know Tony's like, I have to get back to my husband.
what were we supposed to have finished a while ago?
Yeah, 2 hours ago.
Oh gosh, wait, that
This
we
is
weren't
like
even
Barbra
here 2 hours
Streisand's
ago.
On the
book.
Rocks we're limitless. We're like the never-ending story. Whenever that plays, I get a little tear. And the rebooting Never-Ending Story?
Mm-hmm.
One little thing about 80s actors, the actor who, not Atreyu, because he shouts for Atreyu. The other,
No, I don't know.
anyway, with the name of,
You're asking the guy who has
I
an
can
issue
remember, yeah.
remembering names
Yeah.
of the name?
the horse and his dying and all that.
Oh, the horse. That was the saddest part of that
Do you know
whole
that
movie. Anyway.
he's a very hot tattoo artist in Los Angeles?
Oh, really?
Yep. We're trying to do a show. Anyway,
Oh.
okay.
Interesting.
Talking about 80s and 90s. Getting your body back in
Oh.
tip-top shape. This has been a really big mission for you, on top of getting back into Hollywood. What was the inspiration of that? And I love the other side of it because we're like, skinny bitch. Like, if I could be a skinny person. But it meant something different for you.
Yeah, of course. I've always looked like the opposite is the sort of sickly thing that a lot of skinny people can look. And for years, I had a very sort of gaunt face just because it was so hard for me to keep weight on. I know, that's the thing. Oh, it was so hard for me to keep weight on.
We didn't think you were gaunt. We thought you were available.
Oh no, but for years I just felt like I didn't look as healthy. And the last thing I especially want people to think of is me as anything but very, very healthy. And I keep saying there are only a few things you can control as an actor. You can control your audition, right, and how you perform and keeping your muscle going. You can control your body, and you can control your social media, which unfortunately has become such a big thing.
But you've really mastered it.
I'm trying.
Slowly but surely
I'm
you
trying
have.
because I know how important it is. And what I decided was I'm using it as fuel. Like, I refuse to lose a role to someone who has a better body or better social media. I refuse. Because it's the principle of it, especially the social media side of it. Like, if there's ever a moment where someone does not do as well as they can in the audition as I'll be able to do, but has 100,000 followers and they get the job, oh, y'all better look out, right? That moment, it's just
I think
so
that's
old
honest. I
school.
I don't subscribe to all of that.
I don't
but-
believe it happens, but
I don't
it's,
think
But,
someone
but
would
I
be,
like that you're being
yeah,
honest about it.
If you're good in the audition, you're going to get the part. It's not going to
No,
be.
that's not
not
true.
true.
If you're
That is
chubby,
not true.
If you're reading for the same part of, like, no. But
That's not true. There are so many roles that are cast with people who have millions of followers.
Yes, but if you're really equal in talent, you're not going to go, well, they have more followers. If you're better than,
I don't
I would
believe
take
you.
that off the
At
table. and
auditions
don't
now,
worry
you
about
have to
that.
put in your
I know what you
followers.
have to put in, and he's doing it.
Yeah.
But I think don't worry about that.
Oh,
Don't-
I'm
yeah,
not so
yeah,
much worried
yeah.
about it, but it is what gave me the fuel for the fire, for sure.
and
So-
you're happy.
And I'm happy, and
You seem like
I'm
you're
so much
enjoying
more
it.
confident.
You're
Yeah.
not like, it doesn't seem like you're doing it just.
That's the key. When
Yes.
some people try
There's
to, like, oh, I haven't eaten anything today. It's like, well, you're not happy and you look.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, no, I mean the confidence that I've gained from taking care of myself, and it's just being healthy just feels really good. And I'd never done any of that before.
Does
you
it?
know? It feels really good. No, I swear, it feels so
No, but
good.
like to be honest, you're very honest about your age. You're very honest about like how, old, who's the boss is, and I really love your story.
I was trying to figure out where you were going there, but I
Oh no, I'm
appreciate
saying
it.
is like you're just so honest with everything.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us like try to hide certain things, and it's like, no, this is the journey we take.
I feel like that's just part of, it's either going to be what gets me to the
It's
next
your
step.
superpower.
It's my superpower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or who's the boss? You're the boss.
well, that's
Did you like
There's
that
the
wrap
book,
up?
yeah.
Did you like the wrap up?
Catherine Hellman will always be the boss. She was the boss for sure.
God, she reminded me of my grandma so much with her outfits and just she was just.
If you ask any
impeccable.
of us, we all say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
for
if
sure.
so. All right. I have other pages of questions, but
What did we not get
have
to?
them come back, I think. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Tony has to go home and have relations
Don't
with his
blame
husband.
this on Tony.
No, we really don't.
Your name's Tony? Oh my God. I didn't even realize that.
Oh,
And here we are talking about Tony.
no.
But not
it's,
that
it's
Tony.
that show. Do you remember? Did you ever look back and be like, yeah, he was a little cute?
No, absolutely not.
Well, because
No, I would tell you, but no, he was. It's like, did you feel that way about your dad? Like he's my dad.
I didn't know my dad. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a definite. No.
Okay. We had such a fun time, by the way. Didn't we have fun?
Yes, we had fun. And so many more questions too.
I had
Later,
them.
yeah.
We didn't even get to them all.
We'll do a part 2.
Okay, we'll do a part 2.
All right, Danny, where can people find and follow you?
It's always at Danny Pintuaro on all of the
Spell
various
Pintauro.
things.
Apparently, some people
Oh
can't
yes.
spell it.
Well, it's on the screen right now. Look, Danny Pintuaro.
For
at Danny
our
Pintuaro.
listeners on iHeartRadio.
I actually have more followers on TikTok than I do on Instagram. We need to fix that, but that's because I really love TikTok. It's so much fun. I just love going live and
And it means
interacting
the
with
youth
people.
are like,
the youth,
the youth,
the youth,
the youth, Angela, the youth.
the youth.
Stan, where can we find and follow you?
At Danny Pintuaro. No, that's wrong. It's Zimmerman Stan. You did that wrong, the IG. Thanks a lot. It's reversed.
Oh,
No,
Yeah,
absolutely not. Look at it. Outlook is doing something though. It's correcting stuff that I'm not writing.
is that what it is?
Okay, yeah.
Blame it on the
Just type my name in, you'll see the
No,
face.
I did it right.
Okay.
But
blame
Outlook,
it on autocorrect.
I hate Outlook. I hate email. I hate it so much. But it's correcting stuff that I'm typing, and I don't know. I'm sending weird stuff like barbecue.
No, you did mean barbecue.
Oh look,
Yeah,
he's full showing it to us.
Oh, because it tagged his
God.
email. That's Outlook. That's not me. Did you do it? Oh my God! Did you see it was a link?
I don't
It's
think
not
you
me.
should put emails up like that.
No.
Oh,
it's-
they
Get in
didn't
trouble.
see that.
They
That
didn't
was
see
just
that?
for
okay.
us. Yeah.
Phew. Okay.
I was like, oh God, and then I realized, no,
Oh my
that's
God!
not
This
actually
famous
it.
man over here.
Okay, let's
Which
go
one?
home.
Wait, so
Oh,
that's
me?
all we can find you?
ZimmermanStan.com everywhere, yes. And I'm doing a TikTok live thanks to you.
Oh, yes,
With your
yeah.
friend on Sunday.
On
At
Sunday.
1 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah.
Talk about your friend. Yes.
I've just met him on
You-
TikTok. He's the
yes, you-
sweetest thing, but he's a massive, massive Golden Girls fan.
and he was like, you have to contact my friend
Yeah.
and do it. So,
So because there's somebody who does a Charmed TikTok live. He's
yes.
just always talking about Charmed. His name's Galen. I love him, but there isn't really
I love
anyone doing.
advertising other shows on my show.
Oh, sorry.
give love to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that head turn.
go ahead.
Yes.
But he
Will
just
you
does.
be watching? And will you
Oh,
be,
I'll
you'll be
absolutely
chiming
be
in? Okay, good.
He's gonna be working out. He has no time for that.
I can work out and watch at the same time.
Maybe I'll do that too. I'll do little.
We need to
I
work
have-
out
I have
some of your.
dumbbells.
We need to work out some of your other dating issues. Anyway.
Okay, that's a
Oh
whole other
God,
show.
that's a
This
whole
has
other
been
show.
so much fun, you guys,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that we addressed really important issues and just have such a good time with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate
I
it.
see big things.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
very
excited.
exciting to see what happens.
It's not Stan, by the way, because he's flirting the whole time.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
Stan's like, okay, just wrap it up.
that's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here every weekend on The Rocks. A big thank you to our engineer and station owner, Tony Sweet. If you have a
Tony.
podcast, you be on UBN.
Hey yo, oh
Our
hey.
social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have American Idol's David Hernandez, author and producer of AMC's Interview with the Vampire, Christopher Rice, and one of my favorite actresses, Sheree Agadushlo.
Pre-hug often.
She was in the Stony Soraya House of Santa Fog. I can't believe she's coming on. Subscribe, like, so we can continue bringing this your fabulous way. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. And if you don't drink, then don't. But if you do drink, stay tipsy. Cheers! This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.